Hey, there we go.
Right? Are we actually live?
Live. We are live.
Oh God. uh,
I can see you. I can see me.
on the YouTube channel?
Yeah, on the YouTube.
Why is I don't know why nothing ever works smoothly.
Because why would it?
So I didn't want it to go live yet. So that's
Oh,
one.
okay. Yeah, we're live.
Um, and now I need to figure out how to fix something on air, I guess. So that's
What are you trying to fix? Well, that's cool. We can talk through it. We'll talk about stuff.
yeah. So if you want to go ahead and talk while I try to do something in the background,
Sure.
that'd be
What's up,
awesome.
everybody? Welcome to the Thinking Art Entertainment Livecast. I am Andrew Glessner, the guy trying to figure everything out very aggressively as Wesley Malott. Happy to have you here if you're paying attention right now. Um, it's been fun. It's what now 9:18. It's took us 17 minutes to figure this out because it usually does. Don't know why. We've done this several times before, but everything always just falls apart the second we want to go live. It never fails. That's when everything always messes up for us. So Wes is currently trying to fix a little bug. Definitely appreciate you guys stopping by, whoever you are. Say hi in the chat. Feel free. We're monitoring that. We'll talk to you. Yeah. What's he doing? Oh, everyone's gone.
Okay, I think
Think we're good?
everything is. No, I just need to find where I put my water. Um, yeah. So this has been a
It's been an ordeal.
thing. It's been an ordeal.
It's been a whole thing.
Okay, so I believe everything is good. If somebody is in the chat, can you just let me know that you can hear both of us?
Make sure that we're both good sound. We're both good.
Yeah. So I'm running through a shotgun mic.
I'm running through Bluetooth headphones, so
Hopefully
it's a pretty
we
good
sound
call.
okay. And the more we do these, the smoother they will go. But I literally just got my computer back over the weekend, and I
Yeah.
lost everything.
Well, and then I tried
Everything.
to, yeah, I tried to pull up
Stop
my
talking over me.
laptop. Will you stop talking? You stop. Sorry.
Wondering if I should bring this light up some.
I think you look fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me go ahead and share this some places. What is new with you?
With me, not a whole lot, man.
Okay, so
Just
let me go ahead and
working from home now, which is different. That's fun. It's
it is,
weird.
isn't it?
Yeah. It's nice to like going to break and just coming up and standing in my kitchen. It's just
That's
looking
the
out a
break
window. I'm
room
like, yep,
now.
that's the break room. It's where we all meet by the water cooler, which is just my fridge. We talk shit about all the other coworkers, aka the cat. It's about it. I mean, you know, uh, other than that, not too many things. Spent the spent the morning getting all my Dr. Seuss hot takes ready.
Oh God, I don't want to
I
hear
don't
it.
have any hot takes.
I don't want to hear it.
You don't want to hear it?
Brandon wants
All
to
right.
hear it though.
Oh, Brandon heard it. Don't you worry about that.
So
We
what kind
spent.
of frustrates me is I set up this really nice looking overlay stream
Yeah.
where like we had boxes. It had like a subscribe button. It had the Thinking Art logo in the left hand corner, not the center. And then I had like a
Mhm.
chat box over there on the right and everything. And then in trying to figure out why the video, like why I couldn't see your video on the stream, I
Yeah.
had to basically delete all the properties. And so it deleted everything I did. I spent an hour on that earlier.
Because of course it did. Why wouldn't it? You know what I mean?
So, um,
Oh,
welcome to the first edition of the Thinking Art Entertainment or the Thinking Art Podcast live
hey,
stream hangout.
they can't
Um,
hear
can
you.
you hear
Because of
me?
course they
The
can't.
first
Yeah.
edition of
Can
the
you hear me?
Thinking Art Entertainment or the Thinking Art
Aya?
Podcast live
Hey.
stream hangout.
They can't hear you. Okay. Because of course. So Iowa State, I couldn't hear you. Can you hear me? Aya? Hey. They can't hear you. Okay. Because of course. So Iowa State, I couldn't hear you. Can you hear me? It's always something. These sons of bitches. Hey.
I can hear you on the
They can't hear you.
live stream.
No, they can hear me. They're saying they can't hear you.
What the hell?
Yeah. I mean, of course, you can hear you every time you talk, but you just can't hear Wes, right, Aya?
That's you.
Oh, it's Hugh. Okay. I thought it was, but I wasn't sure. I looked down at the pic.
Of course.
Why wouldn't we get started and then just drop down to that? You can't hear him snapping, Hugh?
Okay, what did I do earlier? Audio input capture into aggregate. Not working.
We'll get there. Just keep talking, Wes. Once we get you sound, I'm sure Hugh will tell
Is that
us.
working? Is that working? Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Should be working because I'm seeing levels now, which I was not seeing before.
Oh, yeah, looks like it's working. You said yes.
Yeah, finally. Jesus.
Then Brandon said, "This is incredibly thought-provoking. Keep it up, you son of a bitch." Look at it. This is dropping in just a. Oh.
She's so mean. So welcome everybody to the first ever episode of the Thinking Art Podcast live stream hangout. Might be renamed. So I don't even know how many of these we're gonna do. It was just an idea that Andrew and I had to kind of hang out and talk filmmaking. But this might be a monthly thing. It might be a weekly thing. It might be like a bi-weekly thing. Really just depends on if we enjoy doing it. Because
If we enjoy it, if you guys enjoy it.
Yeah, we don't want to get to the point like whenever we were doing the Thinking Art podcast before, it got to the point where we were doing it every week, and it was fun for a while, but then it kind of just felt like a chore because we would have to like research things to talk about, and like not every week there was anything interesting to talk about.
Yeah, so then to make it interesting, we brought somebody else on, and then that just fell through.
Yeah, I think really the downfall of that whole thing was bringing that third guy in.
I don't want to mention his name, because
Shouldn't
that
have
would
done
be
it.
cruel. No, absolutely not. But a mistake all around. I think we can all agree.
That guy is in the chat right now. It's a
Say hey.
no. We love you, Brandon.
We do.
But we want to make sure that this is fun for us, because if it's not fun for us, it's not going to be fun for you.
Correct.
And so we're going to try to keep it fresh. So basically, the idea is each episode we're going to try to have a guest on, and we're going to talk a specific thing of filmmaking. So for instance, the next episode we do, whether it's next week or 2 weeks from now or next month, we're going to have Brittany Snaman on, who wrote and directed Goodbye. And we're going to talk to her about the writing process, directing her second short film, and basically anything that you guys can find educational out of that, as well as entertaining. We'll tell some stories, like how the jorts got involved in the short film. Small stuff like that. But this is the first episode, and we were going to have Brittany on tonight, but unfortunately her schedule just didn't align with ours. And so tonight we're going to be egotistical, and we're going to talk about ourselves, Andrew.
I'm fine with that.
We're going to talk about how you and I got started in filmmaking, and kind of, I guess, go through our origins, and we'll probably tell some stories, and we'll see where it goes. We'll try to interact with the audience through everything as well. So feel free, if anybody has any questions, just let us know, and we'll answer them as we go.
Say questions, comments, smart-ass stuff to say. Feel free. Whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Whatever. If
down
you
with all
guys
of
just
it.
want to insult us, if you're entertained doing it, I don't care.
Have at it. It's okay.
I'm gonna juice this up the next time. I had more plans to do different things with the lighting, but I spent an hour trying to diagnose, over an hour, like an hour and 18 minutes, trying to diagnose like why I couldn't get video or audio.
That is a lot.
Hugh, the logo is so big because I had to redo everything in 3 minutes. I spent an hour making a screen earlier, and then it got rid of everything because naturally Murphy's Law applies to everything in my life.
It's fair.
I can make it smaller though if it's offending you.
It's just bothersome. It's way bigger than I am, I think, from what I can tell. But hey, that's fine. It's the
Well, if
product.
somebody
Shit
would
on the
have an
product.
actual computer. We remove. Love it. Okay, so anyway, let's get started and have
Let's
a
get into
little
it. Yeah,
discussion. So Andrew,
sure.
we probably know all of the answers to each other's questions, but we're going to ask them anyway. So,
Yeah,
what
that's fair.
got
Yeah.
you started in filmmaking?
Oh man. It's a question I never answered before. Uh,
Really? Have you not really
you
answered that
know,
question?
no, I've definitely answered that
Oh,
question
okay. I
before.
thought you were being.
Um, yeah, no, obviously, what got me into filmmaking was just you and me growing up together. We just, like, as kids, always had that passion for film that just started, very innocently enough, just liking to watch movies, watching a whole bunch of different movies. Um, and then we got to the point where we kind of would play act out movies, like, for fun. We just always had a passion for film. And I remember, I think the biggest turning point that I can distinctly remember for us anyway was watching Clerks for the first time. Because you saw this movie that we really liked, we thought it was hilarious, it was a good movie, and then there was just that moment where, like, oh yeah, this guy made this on his own. He didn't need a film production company. He just did it.
Maxed
And we're
out his
like, wait, he
credit
can do that?
cards,
Yeah,
dropped out of film
put
school,
himself.
or
Yep,
he
absolutely.
didn't go to film
I
school,
think
did
he
he?
did.
He just dropped out of school.
I, yeah, whatever. He something.
So,
Uh,
yeah.
he made Clerks. He was working at the Quick Stop. And then we're like, oh yeah, you can just do that shit. That's cool. So we were like, yeah, I think that's what we want to do. And we went to college. I didn't go for that because I'm stupid.
I
I dropped
mean,
out.
maybe I'm stupid for going for it.
Isn't it weird how that hasn't panned out yet? It could be dumb. It could have been brilliant. We don't know yet.
we're still working on it.
Time will tell. We'll really only know once you're dead.
Facts.
Like
Just wanted to
six.
say hey to DJ Talks. Ryan Osborne is also in the chat, and SCP
What's up,
Short
guys?
Stories. Hey everyone,
What?
thanks for joining us tonight. So Andrew, one of the things that I always tell people, like I've been on some filmmaking podcasts, and they'll always ask, like, "Oh, how did I get into filmmaking?" And you and we have kind of a non-traditional way that we got into the hobby or the industry. So, like a lot of people, you hear a lot of stories with like directors and cinematographers and everything. Like they had a camera when they were like 5 years old and they just couldn't put it down, and it's been in the runaway thing ever since. You and I never picked up a camera until I was in college, specifically my second year of college. I mean, I shot stuff on like cell phones and stuff, but so the thing that I always tell people is like I've always had a love for movies and storytelling, and that's always kind of came out in the way tell stories to people. But also, you and other friends from the neighborhood, we would literally run around and act out movies without a
Yeah,
camera because we
I
didn't
just
have
love
a
my
camera.
camera. Yeah, yeah. We just played like we were running a script, or like we were,
We would literally kind of
That's just
write
what
the
we did.
story as we went, and we would go and like play out the adventure and everything, but it was all without a camera.
Yeah, and that sounds a lot like we were just playing, and really we were, but at the same time, like in our heads, we were talking about like we're making a movie. Like really, I think we were just paranoid kids, and we just thought somebody was following us with a video camera the whole time, and just hoping they were getting good shots.
Mm-hmm.
But no, like, yeah, just we were constantly playing, but in our minds, it was always, no, we're making a movie. This is the movie we're gonna make,
Yep.
and it's still a movie we have yet to make, which I find interesting. One of these days, we'll have to do it just for fun. 'Cause I'll
Just
be
want to
on
say,
video, so.
hey to Creator Crossroads. Mike is in the house. He was on the other stream, so I'm not sure what that means, but I imagine something got screwed up, of course.
Oh, 100%. There was definitely two streams. Why wouldn't there be?
Yeah. It's just like literally Murphy's Law with this thing.
Yeah.
Brandon asks, did you guys sit there in your PGAs over a Mortal Kombat head-to-head match and dream about what's going to happen when this thing goes big?
Oh, we did last Tuesday, actually. That wasn't back when we were just kids, you know?
Ryan asks, how old were you during this no camera movie making? How old were we? Probably.
Oh, man, 12, 13. But I mean, technically, we never had a camera. So it was really the whole time we were. I don't know. We didn't really do that when we were like 17. Then we started playing Warcraft and watching porn. Um,
Transition pretty quickly. Yeah, we
you
were
know,
pretty young. I think you and I met when you were 10 and I was 8. Does that sound right?
yes, that sounds right because I moved into the village of Needmore at 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember we met soon after that because I grew up 2 houses down from Wes's grandma, and then he lived across a field from me
Mm-hmm.
in the booming metropolis that is Needmore, Pennsylvania.
Giving a quick shout out to Jelly Duck 100. Thanks for joining us, Jelly Duck. Good to see you. It's been a while. DJ Talks asks, why did you guys decide to do filmmaking on YouTube and not just do film festivals? That is a very good question. And my personal answer to that question was basically Andrew and I's first foray into filmmaking is we did 2 features. And we submitted those to film festivals. And our first feature, we submitted to 2. And, that was it. Like, it didn't get into those 2, and it was buried.
Like we were blown away, by the way, and but like it didn't get into both of these festivals. It didn't win either of them.
The second film we actually had a little bit more luck with. We submitted to more film festivals, and it got into 6 or so.
Yeah, we
But we learned very quickly that it is super expensive to A, make feature films, and B, submit them to film festivals where, let's be honest, we weren't quite experienced enough to where we were actually going to turn a profit on anything we were making. So basically, we weren't learning fast enough going that route. And so, through a lot of like conversations, we ultimately decided that we should focus on smaller short films and just trying to turn out as many as possible because we can learn faster, make more mistakes, and just pump out more content and get better quicker. We still do submit our short films to local film festivals. It's not our priority right now. We really just want to focus on improving our craft.
Yeah, this we found making short films was the easiest way to fail up, if that makes sense. I remember both of our features, on top of them both taking a year plus to make and produce. It was expensive for both of us to do that because it was just our money, and neither one of us, had great income coming in at the time. It was literally bleeding us to do them, and we
Yep.
loved doing it, so we were happy to do it. But we didn't have anything, and I remember I think the original cuts for like both of the features we had made ideally were supposed to be about 80 to 90 minutes. They both ended up being very close to 2 hours
They were
each.
both 2 hours, yeah.
I remember we rented out a theater for a premiere of our second film, Binge. And there was a local lady there who was one of the head people of the Maryland International Film Festival. She had just happened to see that we were having a premiere there, so she showed up. She said, "I love that movie. You guys got to submit it to the festival. I think you're a shoe-in." We submitted it and we got rejected. This was a lady who was she was one of the people making decisions. And when we asked about it, they said, "Oh, it was just too long." And
Yep.
so at that point, we're like, okay, we were almost too ambitious, just constantly biting off more than we could chew with what we were doing at the time. I'm like, okay, we got to figure out a way to rein it in, but also improve our abilities, learn to kind of play a little bit more,
Mm-hmm.
and just grow. That's why we started making the shorts. And then honestly, putting them on the internet was just more of a way of like, hey, we don't have an audience. We have nobody who's like, I want to see what these guys are doing. It always seemed like we were more of a pleasant surprise. Like, I can't tell you, one of the more interesting things when we went to the World Music and International Film Festival, uh, our second film got accepted, it played, and at the award ceremony, we were nominated, I believe, for 3 or 4 awards.
Mm-hmm.
We actually ended up winning one. When our film played, we were the only people sitting and watching it.
Yep.
And it was just like, oh yeah, no one knows who we are. So it was like, how do we at least try to get some eyeballs on what we do?
Yeah. And I
And that's
remember
really,
sitting in the movie that was screening before us and talking to a lady, and she was like, "Oh, I really want to see that Binge movie," and that was our movie, and it was in a different theater. And whenever it came time, to go to that theater, basically the entire theater that we were in started to get crowded, and we were leaving and going to our theater. And I guess that lady just decided, like, oh, there's a lot of people coming in. I'm just gonna watch what's in here.
yeah.
um, Catching up with the chat. Danny Mick is in the house. Hey, Danny, thanks for
What?
joining us tonight. And Danny, I do have the iMac back. It is in the shot right here. I am actually filming on my Pocket 4K. Live streaming on my Pocket 4K. Brandon asks, how much do you need to back a major feature from start to submission? I'm assuming submitting to film festivals, not counting paying the cast. Ideally, like if you're paying the crew and everything, you should pay the cast. I would say, I don't know. You hear all those like success stories about like certain feature films like Primer and Upstream. Well, let's go with Primer because that was made for $7,000 and won the Sundance Awards and got a distribution deal. And then also El Mariachi, is that the one? Robert Rodriguez made for 7,000, or was it?
Sounds about right. Well, yeah, that was the precursor to Desperado, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
One of
probably.
the
I
one
think
of
it was.
the one of his really early movies he made for 7,000. Um, and I don't know, it's tough because it's hard to really put a number on it because you can pull a lot of favors and make a cheap short film like those $7,000 success stories, but that's only a couple. It's
Yeah.
not very likely to happen. I would say for the most part, maybe like 50 grand is like a good solid budget for like a no budget feature.
Which is hilarious because that is infinitely more than we've made anything
Yeah.
no budget for.
DJ Talks asks, what was the inspiration behind Goodbye? I didn't write Goodbye, DJ. That was actually written and directed by Brittany Snaman. I just shot and edited the short film and then also produced it with Andrew, Brittany, and Rob Kakanya of Indeternal Productions. So I can't personally speak to the inspiration behind the movie. However, Brittany Snaman will be our first official guest and we are going to dive into the inspiration behind Goodbye. So you can ask her yourself whenever she's on.
Which will be the next episode.
It will
To
be
be
the
specific,
next
either next
episode,
week
whether that's
or
next
the
week.
next time we do this. We'll see.
Greg Palmer asks, "What are some of the biggest lessons you have learned so far?" So going back to that feature filmmaking, like our experience with making features first, that was probably the biggest moment where I was like, okay, this isn't working out, and we're gonna waste a lot of years if we continue down this trajectory of making like one project every like year and a half and it turning out crappy. So basically, I would say that was the biggest lesson that I've learned is like if we want to get better at this, we need to do it more often, which means creating smaller shorts. And it's kind of funny because the two shorts we did after that are kind of like feature length concepts. We did a dilemma, which was like a 18-minute short or something like that, and then Marbletown, which was a 40-minute short. But it wasn't the intention to make like those lengths. It just kind of happened. Like those were the stories and how they unfolded, and that was the length of time they ended up being. But then, like we did the horror shorts, and they were like 3 minutes, 6 minutes, and so forth. Until this year, where they got long again. But Andrew, how about you? What was the biggest thing that you've learned so far?
I mean, in that vein, but yeah, mainly it was just like we were biting off a bit more, I think, than we really were ready to chew. But we had too much ambition to realize that.
Mm-hmm.
Because we just wanted to go, 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 go. Our whole thought and our drive was we're going to make this feature, we're going to sell it, we're going to make it, and then this is what we do for the rest of our lives. We're going to keep going. And then when it didn't work the first time, we were like, oh, okay, it was just that movie. That movie sucked. This next one's going to be great. We're going to do it. And then we did it. We're like, okay, this one's actually pretty good. It got some traction. And then nothing happened with it. And we're like, maybe it's us. Maybe we're trying to do too much too fast. And
Yep.
I think there's a lot that you can learn from going to film school. There's a lot that you can learn from reading stuff. But really just when we started the production, we started making the movies, we started tackling them, when you realize that, you're sitting in my apartment at like 3 in the morning, filming some shots with just me in front of the camera and Wes behind the camera. And that's the entirety of the cast and crew. You're like, oh yeah, maybe there's other ways to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And so we took a step back. I still, to this day, I think the 40-hour film festival was probably the first one we did. Was probably one of the coolest things we did because it taught us a whole lot right up front too.
Oh, absolutely.
Real quick.
Like one of the things until like that first 48-hour film project that we did was I mean, this is kind of going back to my first experiences with filmmaking, kind of doing everything crew-wise myself other than recording the sound. Like I would be like moving around the lights, I'd be operating the camera, I'd be directing, and I'd be like pulling my own focus and everything. So I have a tendency to take a little a little too long with certain things. And with the 48-hour film festival, like every take you do eats into the time that you need to spend editing. So that was kind of an eye-opener where you kind of have to really think about how to be economical with your time on set. And that trait, ever since like the 48-hour, I mean, you can't control everything that happens on set. The issues arise, people have to problem solve, and you get behind. But it has taught me how to be a little bit more economical on set. Really quick, Danny Mick asks, what motivated you for Stay Quiet, or did you not write that one? That was actually written and directed by Chloe Carroll of Fear Crypt Productions. I actually just shot and edited that one. That was our third short scares, second short scares, and
Stick what was that?
that was the
Okay,
pie,
yeah, I remember which one.
the guy with the
Yeah,
pie.
okay. Yep, the guy with the pie. And the other
That
movie of the guy with the pie, not the.
that was the motivate the motivation behind that one, or the inspiration behind that one, was basically just Chloe and I brainstorming and trying to find a concept that her and I both liked. And it started from an idea that I had for a short, but it wasn't like, it couldn't really be twisted into what she wanted to do with like her short. And then she came up with the character that was very like he became physically violent at loud noises. DJ asks, how long does it take to edit a short film, not including breaks? So,
What a fun question.
a very, very long time. There have been short films like Killer Be Killed took me basically probably a year to edit, but that was primarily out of frustration where I would run into a problem and I couldn't figure out how to solve it right then, and I would take like 2 weeks off because I was just frustrated at myself because like we didn't shoot the footage and I can't edit it the way I want to edit. So then, 2 weeks later, I would come back with a clear head and then try to tackle that problem. And, it was just a slow and tedious editing process. However, there have been other shorts, like Goodbye. We shot that in what, September 15th?
Yeah, 2 days in
And
September.
we released it. It was ready to be released Halloween night. And like the last 2 weeks was all sound effects and VFX. So I would say that only took me like 2 or 3 weeks to edit because
Yeah.
I pounded Stalked and Goodbye out pretty quickly.
Well, and then by comparison, Stalked was made. Was it the week before or the week after?
The week before.
Week before. We're still finishing that one up. So it really depends on the quality of the work. Depends on what you're doing
Yeah.
with the work. Some are as easy as cutting and pasting. Some are much more complicated. So it's a variable answer, unfortunately.
Caboose Juice asks, would it have taken you the same amount of time to save and hire an editor? That's a good question. I don't know. I've never had somebody else edit any of the projects that we've worked on. I know editors can be expensive, rightfully so. But it's always just been something like I know how to do it and I know what I'm looking for, so I'll just edit it myself. So I don't know. That's a good question. I'll have to think about that one, and because there are projects where, like the 48 hours, for instance. The last two we did, we actually had a co-editor because it was just way too much for me to do. But with like the post-production process, like after shooting, I can't. Well, I can do sound editing, but Michael Mowen, he does a lot better job than I can. And then I'm shit at visual effects, so it's like if I'm not editing the project, then I'm no good in post production. Um, but kind of going back to DJ asks, would you ever consider trying to make an animated short? Absolutely, DJ. I've always have been intrigued, and I'm always impressed by animated films and stuff, but it's just one of those things like I don't have any skill or knowledge of that area, so I've never looked into it. If somebody came to me and they had the skill and the story to tell and they wanted me to like help out and edit it or something, like I would love to do that. As long as like we thought that that was the right medium for that particular story. I don't want to do anything just well, I shouldn't say that because I do things just to do it. So I was getting ready to
Oh,
lie
but
to everybody.
animation's not really. That's not really the thing. You just go, we're gonna do it just to do it, because a
Yeah,
year
yeah.
later, yeah, because that does take a while, kind of no matter how you do
Yeah,
it.
Hugh said animation takes a very long time to make. Yeah, it does. I have a lot
Yeah.
of respect for anybody that has that ability and has that patience because, like, I try to storyboard our films and, like, you
Stick
see, you're
figures.
laughing because you've seen them. They're stick figures and they are terrible. Like, you cannot understand looking at my stick figure pictures what I'm trying to convey with that picture.
I
So
mean, for the most
basically,
part, you get the gist. But
yeah.
yeah,
So basically, with storyboarding, I stopped doing them for a long time because, like, I would show them to people, and you just it's not it means nothing. So, like, for instance, Hugh and I was stalked. We literally did every single shot of the film with Barbie dolls. We just took pictures of everything. And that's a lot better of a reference for people because it's actually in like 3D space, and you can, if you're trying to do a camera move that you want to show to somebody, you can literally just move the camera and take like a quick test video. Whereas like the stick figure little drawings, you put like little arrows and stuff, and no one knows what that means.
okay, hold on, just real quick though, that is low key brilliant.
What?
Just having a Barbie doll version of every film that we've made, just in backup. Like, no, this is the storyboard.
We should do it for every single film. Have a little Barbie doll.
I'm gonna
We
spend
have the
money to
real
have my
version
own
and the
doll
Barbie
made.
doll version.
I'm gonna get my own action figure for storyboard purposes.
But going way back, what was your first foray into actually making films?
Oh man, mine. Well, I started a little bit before you did, because you were still in college. Well, I mean, you were making student films. But my first acting experience on film while I was waiting for you, I did a couple local like independent films with a guy I worked with that I just met through work who also wanted to be a filmmaker. Um, that was terrible. Is in a word. Again, he was another person. A lot of ambition, just not a lot of know-how, and I helped film two films with him. Neither one of them really saw the light of day.
Mm-hmm.
They were both scrapped because the first film that I worked with him, the whole concept just fell completely apart. It went from being like just a standard, not standard, but like a hybrid slasher film to like a weird found footage, all handheld style camera movie that then also fell apart just because the editing wasn't there, the shot coverage wasn't there. Like it's not uncommon to make a lot of mistakes in your first or your second film.
Not at all.
Like
It's
I'm
very
not picking
common.
on him for that. But and one of the things I learned the hard way is, oh yeah, some of these mistakes you'll make result in just the film not being makeable. You've got all this footage that just goes nowhere. So we did that for the first film. Then I worked on another film with them, which also the production actually got canceled for that one too.
And this was actually the first film I had ever worked on
Yes, it was.
outside of
Yes, it was.
college. I was the
I
sound operator. I wouldn't say boom because the guy, I don't know how he did it, but he somehow lodged a shotgun microphone into What's that? What's that? Audio recorder called? The Zoom H4n.
Oh yeah, like an H4,
I don't know how he got the
and
boom.
just how, yeah, just with the, yep, I do remember that
No
now that you
idea how
said
he
that.
got that in there.
Well, I guess it had the XLR
Yeah,
inputs,
but
right?
it doesn't connect like that. I don't know how
I
he.
guess
I
it
don't know
does if you're
how.
brave enough.
Unless he had like an adapter or something that was on there. I don't remember. This has also been over 10 years ago, but
That one, the second one, I kind of got some poetic justice because we had a falling out, which I mean, yeah, no
really
hard feelings
quick, I
anymore.
just want to say hey to Sam, who's in the chat. Good to see you, Sam. And then DJ Talks. I'll see you later, DJ. Thanks for stopping in. Sam, I'll get to your question. Andrew, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think one of the more interesting, like the more poetic kind of moments for me, we had a falling out making the second movie with the gentleman who was making it. He canceled production on that one as well. He then spent, from what I recall, a decent amount of money to completely recast the entire film with what he called "quote unquote" like professional actors.
Mm-hmm.
And then he decided, oh yeah, this one's gonna make it to, to Sundance, and
He spent a
then
good
he
bit of money
submitted
on
to
that.
festivals. Yeah, and then he got nowhere. So that it's not funny necessarily, but at the same time, is I felt slighted when it got dropped. I was like, oh, okay, he hired this like real actor, quote unquote,
Mm-hmm.
and then
But
same result. So it's
I do want to say, like, he kind of suffered from the same thing that we did, where he was a little too
yes,
ambitious for his skill set. And
hmm
as beginners, that's a very common thing. Like, everybody is that way. But you just gotta kind of start small and try to figure out how to get to that level.
yeah.
Um, Greg says the Zoom H4n has a shotgun plug on the mic. I did not know that because I've. It's been. When was that? 2011? So 10 years since we. Or was it
Yeah,
2012? 9 or 10 years
20.
since I've
I
done
think that
that.
was 2011.
Sam said, "What's the sketchiest place you have ever filmed in?"
Ooh.
That's a good question.
Uh,
So,
the
well, I'll answer really quick since the so for our short film Marbletown, Brian Schwenk and I were riding around grabbing like B-roll shots for like the opening montage, and he pulled up to like it was like 11 at night, and we were driving around Norristown grabbing a bunch of shots, and he pulled off the side of the road and let me get out because I saw like a cool angle and a cool shot I could grab. And I got out of the car, recorded the shot, and then I saw a guy walking towards me. And as I was like walking back to the car, and the guy started like saying like, "Hey boy, like that's a big lens you got there," and I'm just like, "Yep, I am getting out of here." That was probably the sketchiest situation I've been involved in. There's probably some other ones, but what were you gonna say?
I don't know that we'd ever shot like anything really sketchy. There's two that stick out to me though. The house we shot the finale of Binge in, it wasn't sketchy per
Oh
se, but it
yeah.
had no power, it was freezing cold. And then the upstairs we had found was full of just all kinds of weird shit, which is why we had a whole bunch of weird shit in that last shot. I think Brandon can attest to that. And I think probably like sketchy in a hilarious way was when we shot in Hagerstown, Maryland. We were down the street. We were filming some walking around scenes, and this gentleman rode up to us on a bike that he had duct taped a tape deck to, and he was asking us if we knew where he could buy VHS movies. And then at one point, he looked at Wes's now wife, who is Korean, and said, and I quote, "You Chinese, ain't you?" And then bowed to her, and then he just left.
True story.
Not sketchy per se, but it was extremely confusing to all of us.
Yeah, he was asking us where he could buy a VCR at. Did he have a place, or is he just asking where he could buy a VCR? I don't even remember.
He was just asking in general where he could get a VCR.
Real quick, Judy Rice. Hi. I don't know who that is. I'm kidding. That's my mom.
How dare you?
Hi, Mom.
Oh,
Brandon says Philly in general. There are some parts of Philly that I would not recommend filming, especially if you are filming guerrilla style or run and gun style. And that's kind of like going back to run and gun filmmaking can be sketchy if you're not doing like your research and stuff. And, you need to do your research and make sure you're safe and the people that you're hiring or bringing along to help you bring your vision to life, that they're going to be safe as well. So we haven't, like we stopped doing like guerrilla filmmaking a long time ago.
well,
Like we've
yeah,
had permission to film everywhere since. When's the last time we did anything where we filmed without permission? Blind circumstance?
at Binge maybe.
Maybe
But even
binge?
that, we were just filming on side streets and like I think we used a parking lot downtown somewhere in McConnellsburg. But that was the thing too, is when we were doing run and gun, it was always places like that where like the worst thing that's going to happen while you're filming on the street is people are going to go, "Are y'all filming something?"
Mayonnaise commercial,
Yeah.
guys. If you're ever filming anything on the street and anybody stops and asks you what you're filming, mayonnaise commercial. Literally just think of the most boring thing that no one would ask, like, "Oh, really? What's it about?"
Yeah, because you don't want to be like even interesting or curious because they're just going to keep asking questions, and no one cares that you have a camera, that you're actively in the middle of a shot.
Oh god.
No one gives a shit.
We can get into that in a second. So, real quick, I missed a question by Sam, and he has another question. Has anyone stood in front of a car willing to get hit for the sake of getting the shot needed? Andrew? Have you gotten hit by a
I
car
think-
in some of our... I don't remember.
No, but I feel like Brandon just volunteered for no reason at one point. I said he had to have. With everything, I'm not saying I wouldn't. I'm not saying I'm ready to sign up for it either, but no.
The next project. Sam
Yeah.
also asks, what's the longest continuous shoot day you've ever been a part of? So I know personally I've had a couple 15-hour shoots. I think both days of Stalked went close to 14 or 15 hours. And then I think our 148 hour went like 16 hours just from. So we started at 8 a.m. and we went until like 11:30 at night. So how many hours is that? Like 16 and a half.
Yeah,
Or
sounds
no,
about right.
I can't do math. 15 and a half. So probably
Yeah.
15 and a half hours.
It's a long day.
Yeah, been there quite a few times. It happens though. Whenever you're doing this with no budget and you have people that are like super. I'm not saying to do this, guys. Like, stick to 12-hour days as best as you can, or shorter if you can. But whenever you're doing things with no budget and you're on super tight schedules where these 2 days are the only days that you can fit all these people together, or else like you're gonna have to like go months out. You just gotta do what you gotta do, and then shit happens and things go behind. And hey, Adam is here. Crap, my dad makes me watch. He says McConnellsburg is a pit. Yes, it is.
How dare you? Also, yes. Yes.
He also said, "I'd bet your competition weekends are nuts." Yeah, that's. I'm pretty sure the Out of My League was the longest shoot we've ever had.
We got it all done that day too. Yeah.
We had to get it all done that
Yeah.
day. Um, Brandon says the night we shot the end of Binge was long. We left at 7 a.m. Who knows when we started? That's true
I
too.
think 7 or 8. Yeah, it was right around. I know it was nighttime, and that was in the winter, so it was probably about 6 or 7 when we got there. It was close. I was actually, Brandon, when you said that, I was thinking that that was one of the longer
That
nights.
that actually might have been the longest. Well,
I think the 48 was probably longer.
yeah, I think so too.
However, I think that end scene to binge was probably one of the ones that took the most out of me.
Oh yeah, for sure.
If, if like just it was a rough shoot because it was cold.
Andrew, one of the things you guys have to understand about Andrew is he's usually in good spirits like all the time. There'll be times where you're not, and you can tell. However,
I get a little
you're
sensitive.
generally a chipper guy. However, that last scene of Binge was the only time I ever heard you like actually complain. And to
I
be
think what was it?
fair, you only complained when I asked.
Well, and to give a little context, it was like I don't know. We were well into the middle of the night. I had been doused in liquid because I was being Brandon's character actually was force feeding alcohol down my throat. So when we had to turn off the heaters, it was freezing cold. I was wearing just like a button-up shirt. I had fallen over on my chair, and I thought I had broke my thumb at that point. Um, it was just exhausted. I had worked all day before that because we had. You know what I mean? Like we're doing this to where I have a full-time job too, and there was just a moment of pure defeat that like just hit over me. And Wes just looked at me and he's like, "Hey man, you okay?" And I was just like, "No, I'm not okay." And I just kind of like let it all out. I was like, "I'm tired. I'm pretty sure I broke my thumb. Like I'm freezing." And he's like, "Do you want to stop?" And I'm like, "No, I'll use it, I guess."
It's the only time I've ever heard you complain on set.
I mean,
Real quick, want to say hi to Dan Dobbins. Dan, it is good to see you, buddy. It's been a long time. He asks, "Hey guys, hope quarantine isn't ruining your plans. Look forward to your future endeavors." Thanks, Dan. We actually shot 2 short films during quarantine, and Goodbye came out last year for Halloween, and we're currently finishing up Stalked, and hopefully we'll have that released sometime shortly. And we are kind of planning our next course and what short film we're going to do next. And Brandon says, "Yes, and I was screaming my head off outside at night, thinking the cops were surely about to come." Brandon, we were literally in the middle of nowhere. No one was hearing you scream.
you get half an hour away from any cop anyway.
Brandon also says, "Yeah, sweet tea all over you, thinking I was going to chip your teeth with the glass bottle. Good times."
I still think too one of my favorite parts is just fully embracing the suckage. Is it's like Brandon at that scene had to choke me and hit me. And there were points where I was just like, just do it. I was like, it's going to look so much more real if you just do it.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I'll get over it. It's fine. It's like, just hit me. And then when you choke it, just lay it on. It's like, because it's going to look good.
As far as like, editing goes, I know that like we were still very, very new and inexperienced at the time, and you can tell by watching that movie. However,
Absolutely.
in terms of editing, at least in terms of scripting and the editing, and the Binge finale is like one of my favorite pieces that we've came up with, even though like it's very amateurishly shot. I don't know. I just love that editing style where it's like 2 different things are kind of going on at the same time, and it
Yes.
all kind of both of them are ramping to a climax, and that's one thing that I've tried to replicate, but it's harder in short films because you don't have that time to like develop the characters and get the audience to care about characters, especially multiple characters at the same time, to ramp up two separate storylines into two separate climaxes. Um, Adam asks, how long in advance do you write, then plan your projects? That depends. So there have been, short films or films in general that we work on for like a year or more before we ever film them, and then there's ones where it's like Stalked, for instance. We wrote it a month before we shot it.
Yeah.
So it really
Well, and
just
then
depends on the idea.
there's a concept that we're working on that I pitched, and then we started writing the beginning of like the first lockdown,
Hmm.
and we're still putting touches on that. It's just stuff we can release later. Um,
And
but
hopefully
yeah,
we can get to that one, because that I love that idea and that story, and it would be our first official web series if we if we can get that going.
thinking about that too. Though I also have we can talk about the second official web series. We've already talked about it, but we got to actually start putting pen and paper on that one too. So,
I'm curious what that one is.
though I don't want to give too much away, but it's Indeed. Let's say that.
Okay. That's what I was thinking, but I wasn't sure
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we had talked about it briefly and kind of came up with the concept, and then that was it.
Yeah, well, and it's the one thing that always makes me laugh, is when we're reading through the comments of a lot of the YouTube stuff, we'll see people say stuff like, "Oh, I like how you left that one open for a sequel," and we're sitting there like, "We didn't, but okay." Like, whereas if we're making a web series, it's like, yeah, there's going to be this episode, there's going to be a next episode. Like, we'll do like a whole mini season for it, and then
Hmm.
gauging how it goes, and if we have a good idea, we'll just keep going until the wheels fall off of it, kind of. But
Yeah, I
that
am not
truly
a
would be.
sequel guy. I have never made anything with the intention of doing a follow up, and I don't know if I ever will. Maybe I will. I don't know. It's hard to say what I'll do like 10 years from now, but not a sequel guy. Everything that we've ever written, um, there is a version that could be adapted into a feature film that expands on that same story, but nothing. I would never actually do like a follow up to a short film, like a number two, unless it was like like 15 million views, and we're like, oh, how are we going to capitalize on those 15 million views?
I can confirm. I've been begging to make Stuff Too Dangerous since we made Stuff Too Dangerous.
It's, that would have been fun.
Well,
And
and
there was a
that
time where I
for
was briefly considering it, but
it would have been for no other reason than just for the stupid fun of it, and
oh
that's
yeah,
fine because that's what it was. That's all it was, but it was a blast.
oh well, it was an absolute blast. Still one of my favorite things that we've ever made.
Yeah,
One of my favorite things about the 48-hour film project is basically just getting together in a room with your friends and just literally throwing the wildest, craziest ideas that you can think of off of each other and just seeing where that takes you. Um,
and, and if I recall correctly, Stuffed and Dangerous came about because we had family film and we had no idea what to do. We're sitting at like a pizza shop or something, and then Osborne just out of nowhere is like, "Yo, what if we play with dolls?" And I was like, "That's stupid. Wait,
is
no, that
it?
could work." And honestly, to date, I think it was still one of the coolest 48s we made. I get sad every time realizing that we made it just too late for the cutoff to be part of the award
Yeah, I
ceremonies.
think we
But
were 7 minutes later first year. All this talk about the 48 hour, and
I don't know.
I was recently watching the behind the scenes for one of our 48 hours. I think it was Out of My League. And it does make me miss it, even though it's very stressful in the moment and it's a lot of work for me personally. But
Well, yeah, and I remember there was a moment after she's out of my league where we're like, okay, I think we've gotten everything that we kind of can out of the 48s. I don't know that we need to do it again. I honestly, if they bring it back this year and we can all feel comfortable, I wouldn't mind doing one more for the road. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
I was
Just
actually thinking about that whenever I watched that behind the scenes. I was like, I think I might want to do one again, just to literally have that same feeling, just sitting in a room, collaborating with some of my closest friends and filmmakers, and just seeing like where the brainstorming process takes you. Because like normally with the writing of our short films, it's usually a very lonely process, and like unless Andrew and I like set out to like outline or write something together, which isn't always the case. So it's usually a pretty lonely process, and it's a lot of fun collaborating and seeing what gold ideas that you guys can come up with. Like one of my favorite stupid jokes is Out of My League. We I think it was Alex that came up with the idea of like him stealing the guy's mailbox. Your character stealing Buddy's mailbox. And then like we decided to put it in your car that you were living
yeah,
in as like an Easter egg, and no one knows like what
it's
is
such a
going
quick
on.
shot too. There's just a mailbox there. Yeah, and then the payoff is so small because there's just that moment where when my character and Buddy's character meets, and he just mentions someone stealing his mailbox. I'm like, what? But it was, yeah, it's that dumb stuff that you come up with, like even I remember like when we were talking about stuff in Dangerous too, is that moment where we're like, oh yeah, you got to keep the hands hidden, like it's like these dolls are alive, and then we're like, but then there's the reveal, and then it's like, and then it's like, oh yeah, you see the hand, like it's how you just develop the story
Mm-hmm.
together. Like it's because everybody puts in a little bit of an idea, and we all just work with because there's so many things you throw against the wall, and a lot of it just falls right off. We're like, that's dumb. That's not going to work. But then you get that one idea, and you're like, okay, that could work. And then we throw 10 more to see what sticks with that. And it's like you just build this little grid out. Because, we write everything the night before we film. And
Mm-hmm.
we usually do that in the course of about 7 to 8 hours.
But one of the funniest things is like whenever you start to hit those like late hours and you're really tired and you don't you
Shit
start
just
throwing out ideas and you're like, I don't even know if this makes sense, but we're talking about it.
this is where we are now, baby. Yep.
Really quick, Brandon asked us both if you had the funding to make one big movie, anything, with plenty of time to make it, what's the genre? I'm assuming you mean a feature?
I would assume that he means feature.
I know my answer. Do you know yours?
What genre?
Yep.
Yeah. What's yours?
Okay, so I was gonna say like, should we do a reveal? But that's lame. Thriller, just like any thriller.
Okay. I was gonna say comedy, but obviously,
I'm
I mean, we both went pretty typical with that.
yeah, I'm a big like in terms of like personal preference. I like doing horror movies. But like Kill or Be Killed is like more up my personal alley. It just ticks off a lot more boxes of like the
Yeah.
film that I want to watch. So that's the film that I want to make.
Well, and regardless of where we land, you definitely want to do something that has elements of everything. Like I want it to be scary, but I want to have some funny moments in it. Have some tense moments in it, have some panic moments, some sad moments, some fun moments. Why
Mhm.
limit yourself? So we
Brandon
can write.
says, I think the group does comedy the best, in my opinion. Maybe. It's been a while since
Yeah,
we've done a comedy. I guess the last comedy we did was
I,
the
with
48
Brandon.
hour.
Yeah, they click repeat.
Um,
I think
well,
we
out of
do
my
comedy
league.
very well. Oh, yeah, never mind. I think with the 48, we tend to go on the side of funny.
100%.
And I think sometimes to
Maybe to a fault.
yes,
It's our
well,
Achilles
not
heel.
Yeah, and I
How
don't get me
about
wrong, I love it. I will never apologize for it. And I wouldn't change it. But I think like when we drew sci-fi and we did date click repeat, I thought it was a great idea. I think we had a blast doing it. But I also think it probably docked some points.
yeah, and that's
I
one
don't
of the
regret it.
reasons, was like choosing kind of like the comedy route for those like 48 hours is just like it's such a stressful endeavor that
Yeah,
we want to make sure that everybody is having fun
yep,
while sleep deprived. And if we're doing something like super serious and taking things a little too seriously, then, that's, I don't know, that's just not worth it, in my opinion. So that's kind of the reason that at least personally, I choose to kind of go more on the comedy route for the 48 hours.
it's an easy way to guarantee that we're gonna have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair. Because I mean, I'll be silly, but I'm silly on horror sets too, and sometimes it's just like, hey, stop.
Yeah, my favorite is in the behind the scenes, you getting yelled at.
Like for which one?
Goodbye.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, it happens.
Mom says, I think they do the thrillers best, just my opinion. Thank you, Mom.
See, like we're
I
jacks
like
of all trades.
thrillers. Uh, so, like, going back, what do you think was the most, what do you think was, like, the biggest aha moment?
Ooh, man, what a good question. Do you have one queued up for that while I think about it?
No, I,
Okay.
I thought of that question off the top of my head. I don't know. I don't have an answer.
I this is gonna sound so arrogant, and I really don't mean it to sound that way, but heading into like when we made our second feature, I had a whole lot of doubts about whether we were doing this right. I really did because we didn't get anything with our first film, and honestly, looking back, watching it, I get it. You know what I mean? I really do. But when we made Binge and we got into festivals and we got some award nominations, like I remember sitting at the award ceremony for the World Music International Film Festival. I'm like, I think we're on to something here.
Hmm.
And then as they read off the nominations and we just kept losing, I was like, son of a bitch, maybe I was wrong. And then I to this day don't understand, and I mean this wholeheartedly, why I was the one who won things out of all of us that were nominated, but I did, and I was like, okay, maybe maybe this is what we should be doing. Like it was just that little moment, and it doesn't mean much. You know what I mean? It's a little trophy I have from a small film festival
Hmm.
from 5 years ago, but it's like it's like it's a small victory is what it was, but it was enough to be like, okay, I think we're onto something.
Hmm. I'm just gonna wing it. I have aha moments all the time. It's I wouldn't say that there's been a biggest one. Um, I think personally one of the biggest aha moments, I guess, would be whenever I tried to incorporate like more blocking, planned blocking and stuff into the scenes because like whenever we did our first two features, like there was very little rehearsal or blocking involved. It was just like basically winging it. So
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
whenever we started doing our shorts, I really started to focus on like, okay, where this is like point A of the camera, and the camera will end at point B, where Andrew will end at like point C and stuff, and just making sure that those like marks were dialed down. Dun, 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 dun. I was hoping that you would
What
have a retort.
No, I was gonna say it's like you said, you have a lot of aha moments. I think you have aha moments all the time. You know, every single project we make, there's gonna be at least two aha moments,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the cool thing about it is you learn. At least for us, I think we learn something new, something different, something interesting every single time we film. Yeah, and there's constant growth. You know, and granted, I think we probably know about 1% of everything we could possibly know to be the best filmmakers we could be.
Mm-hmm.
But the cool thing is we're going to learn a lot every time we go out there and do it, which is always exciting. I mean, it's what keeps it fun. Honestly, that's such a lame answer, but it's true.
Mm-hmm. So going back to what I said about like the aha moment being like the
Mhm.
blocking, I just want to talk about our first feature film we made, Blind Circumstance. Do you remember the first night we set foot on set for that movie?
Yeah, I was actually going to say because you were talking about blocking and talking about gunning it and winging it, and it as far as just nothing working out the way we had pictured it and everything just kind of turning into a cluster, the first night of filming for Blind Circumstance was that
An
in spades.
absolute nightmare.
Is Brandon still in the chat? Brandon, you remember that, right?
Oh
Or is he
yeah,
still there?
um,
Yeah, Brandon was there.
we filmed the robbery scene of a poker game, and there was so much like complicated blocking, and it took forever, and it was tough. Like trying to, I still know that there's like continuity errors in that final scene, just because like all the blocking is different in every single take.
For
And then
sure.
I remembered
There's
like one take, I was just following like the actor with the camera, and I'm panning with him, and then I land on Derek, the sound guy, who's standing there with the boom, and he just crouches down.
what's like what else is he gonna do at that point, you know?
Adam asks, "What's better, the perfect take or finishing a difficult project?" I'm gonna go with finishing a difficult
Yeah,
project.
absolutely 100% because when you are filming with one Mr. Wesley Malott, the perfect take means you're gonna do four more anyway. So minimum.
I don't.
Like, you
Yeah,
know
I
what?
don't
That was
know if
awesome.
there's.
That was perfect. Let's get one more for safety, and one more for safety, and then one more for safety. It's perfect takes are underrated or overrated in this what we do, but finishing is never underrated. It
Exactly.
always feels good to be done because you have that sense of
For
accomplishment. It's a lot of
yeah,
load off.
for me as like a perfectionist, I just don't think there's ever going to be a perfect anything. Because you're always just gonna see the faults and like everything, like very minor things, like oh, why did they roll their eyes at this part or something, just like small, dumb things, right? So if you kind of you'll just take forever if you are a perfectionist about every little minute detail, and you're never gonna like David Fincher's films. He's notorious for taking like 30, 40 takes on really simple shots, and I don't want to be that way. I am not that way. Don't even don't even laugh like I am.
Not you're not full on Fincher. Quarter Finch,
Quarter Finch.
quarter Finchy.
Maybe that should be my new directing name, my stage name.
Right?
Quarter Finch.
Wesley Quarter Finch. I like it. It's got a ring to it.
It does. I don't mind
You
it.
can have it.
Oh, my back. So, um, yeah, going back to that like first night of Blind Circumstance and all the mistakes we made. Did you ever think that Did you ever think that about just like giving up, like seeing how terribly everything was going, just being like, maybe I'm not, maybe this isn't what we should be doing,
No, not that night. You mean?
or in
Or just
general,
in
like
general?
either that night or when you got home or later on down the road.
N- No, I never thought because in my mind still at that point it was always just well this is how this stuff goes, it's just
Mm-hmm.
how it works. They're going to be able to put that together. Movie magic. It's going to look amazing. We're going to figure this out. It's going to
It
be
doesn't.
okay. It's not a big
Spoiler.
deal. And then when we were done at the time, because that was the only thing we made, I was like, yeah, what this is pretty good if I do say so myself. Like, I could see us getting into like all the festivals we apply to. Maybe not winning all of them, but yeah. And then we started on binge, and at that point, starting on binge was that moment where we're like, okay, the first one didn't do anything. There's a good chance this one won't either. How much do you really care about this? Like, how much do you really like doing this?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, to a degree, yeah, it cost money. Binge cost me a relationship, in essence. Not
Did
that I
it?
miss it. No, not really. Um, time. Just there's a lot. There's a lot of sacrifice that you make when you do this stuff. But yeah, no. I would say the closest I had ever come to just wanting to quit was probably in between Blind Circumstance and Binge. But having said that, I was still like, nah, I like it too much.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a fun thing, and I'll say this: I don't know that I'd have as much fun doing it if I wasn't doing it with you, like doing it with the crew that we've kind of assembled at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't audition for other roles. I'm not an actor in the sense that I go full time and that I'm trying to do other stuff. And obviously not a criticism of anybody else, but that's not what I'm doing. I really only act in our stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And the
you
reason
you really
most of
do
the
a lot more stand-up comedy than you do acting.
yeah. Oh, I do by comparison to a shitload more stand up, but
Mm-hmm.
I like it when we all work together.
Yeah.
I like coming on set with you and Mike, and if Brandon's there, if Lauren's there, Buddy. Like I like this core stable that we've built too of production.
Mm-hmm.
It's just fun to get together. It's fun for all of us to collaborate. It's fun being on set, and I like that. And I don't know that I would find that with. And I'm sure I'd probably have some fun filming other things. I've done a couple other small things, but nothing serious. It was all just like somebody knew me and was like, "Hey, can you come in and hop in on the scene for me really quick?" And it's like it's been fun, but it's
Yeah.
not anywhere near what we do.
Yeah, I've never once considered quitting. I've never had a moment where I was like, I'm not cut out for this, because it's like whenever you have that passion and you basically want to spend every waking hour of your life doing this thing, you just don't have those thoughts. I've had thoughts where I've been frustrated at my inabilities or my inexperience, but I've never thought that I didn't want to do it. I've always been like, I'm frustrated that I can't do this and I can't figure it out. I'm gonna put my time and energy into figuring out how to do it. And so like making the jump from like Blind Circumstance to Binge feature to feature, one of the reasons I was a little bit more confident with Binge than I was Blind Circumstance was because, like, you look at that first night we all stepped foot on set and how much of a disaster it was. It was an absolute disaster. Um, but, like, going toward, whenever we were getting towards the finish line of Blind Circumstance, small things started to click. And those specific scenes were turning out better. And by the end of the movie, by the end of like finishing that whole movie, was like, well, there's like half a garbage movie and like half an okay movie here. Now, what if we take everything we learned from Blind Circumstance and got better at and applied it to, the second feature film, Binge? And we just kind of took and built on those concepts, and I tried to par back a little bit on the things where I was a little overly ambitious with Blind Circumstance, but I didn't have the skill level or the knowledge level to pull those things off. I just tried to stick to, knowing my limits and just filming what I could do at that time. Um, so, and then like finishing Binge and moving on to the shorts. Same thing with Binge. Once Binge was finished, like, it got better, as we went along.
Yeah.
Things started to get better, and then you have like half a bad film and then half of a decent film. But then whenever we started doing shorts, and we could do them more frequently, and spend the time to make them better. Uh, you know, I forget where I was going with all that. I forget what the question was that I asked, but uh, there's, I whenever get asked that question, like, how did you get started in film? Like, we said, we did 2 feature films and they didn't do anything, right? Like, people aren't going to see them, especially Blind Circumstance. No one's ever going to see that.
I have a
Except maybe
copy. Let
me
me know
and
if you
you.
want
Um,
it.
uh, a lot of people ask, like, do you regret starting off your career that way? And if I could do it over again, I would do it differently for sure. But I don't regret it, because those learning experiences and failing that way, we needed to do.
That is the one correlation I can draw, because you mentioned about doing stand up earlier. Like, between stand up and film, it's a very similar thing where it's like, one of the good things about bombing majestically is you're like, oh, that's how bad it can be.
Mm.
And I don't want to do that again. So you look at it and you're like, okay, how can I not do that? It's just almost, sometimes you learn to be good by like just more avoidance of being bad.
Yep.
And but it makes you better. It absolutely does. It's sucking will teach you more than being okay ever will.
What's that quote from Whiplash? I always butcher it. It's like, there were no 2 words in the English language more harmful than good job.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, yeah, and that's true. I would much rather be terrible than just okay, because you
Oh
have
yeah.
a place to go. Because it's, when you're all right, and it's like it's good. You never get any solid feedback. You
Mm-hmm.
never, and sometimes I think you can even get lost in that. But when you're terrible, you know it, and you know what to improve on. It's a better building block, I think.
Yep. Yeah, I always try to be realistic with myself and realizing my faults, realizing what I can improve on, and actively trying to improve on those things. Like, I had a conversation with Brittany last night, um, about like the next film and like how I want the next film to look. And if we go down the route of like shooting that specific project, what we were meeting about. And I told her that like I was pretty happy with the cinematography overall of Goodbye, but one of the things like I want to do with like this next project is like create more lighting depth, where for instance, like for Goodbye, we worked with very limited resources. We had to shoot the short film during the day, which meant we had to black out all the windows and shine some lights in through those windows. But I want to create like more depth in rooms where you like shoot moonlight in through windows and you get more like shadows and stuff like that, because I think that stuff looks really cool and actually cinematic. But like, I'm not saying like I wasn't happy with the look of Goodbye. I thought we did a good job with what we had access to for that short film. But
A
also,
good job, huh?
I want to. We did a mediocre job, an okay job. Um, I just know that there's always something I can work on improving, and lighting and adding more depth and stuff and background lights, and it is something that I want to improve on.
Sure. And as you should, like you said, we're not perfect. So in this, one of the cool things too is we get a lot more quick real time feedback making the shorts now. That, oh yeah, this is what we can improve on for the next one.
Mm-hmm. And you realize, like, for instance, like there are things you really learn a lot about planning visual effects and stuff.
Oh my god, yeah.
For instance, our short film Stalked, just because of like one well, it wasn't, I wouldn't say minor issue, it was a pretty major issue, and it impacted the entire look of the film. Basically, we had a movie, which for anybody that doesn't know what a movie is, it's basically, if you're familiar with a Ronin, if you're not familiar with a Ronin, then it's basically just like a steady cam. It just like makes the camera steady, and it's like a handheld device that makes it steady. Well, the movie was burning through batteries literally within like 5 to 10 minutes of putting a battery on, and we only had like 8 batteries, and within like 40 minutes of shooting we were down like 6 batteries, and we couldn't figure out what was going on, and we only shot like 1 or 2 shots, and Adam, our DP, was like, I think we should just go handheld. And so that one problem, now the whole movie is handheld because of that one whole problem, and it wasn't meant to be all handheld. But also, diagnosing that one problem and failing set us back for our big VFX shot, which had to be timed at golden hour, or else it just wouldn't work. And we ended up missing it because of that problem. And then we had to basically wing a VFX shot with no plan going into it. So, yeah, it was tough. It still is tough because we're still working on that VFX shot right now as we speak. But that's one of those things, is like when you can actively plan out things will go smoother, but when you have to wing it, you spend more time problem solving. Which, I mean, it's unfortunate because it's just how it worked out for that. And if we could have planned it, we would have, but it was never intended to do it all visually effects.
Yeah. No, 100%. And that, it's always the fun mystery to unsolve.
Mm-hmm.
To unsolve? Solve.
To unsolve. So, going forward, what are you looking forward to doing? Is there any projects that you're working on, leaning toward? Like, what is your I guess, what does the next 5 years look like for you? What's your 5-year plan, Andrew?
It's the 5-year plan. Open the Hooters. Yes, there are projects we have in mind that we're working on right now. One of the things I really want to explore too, at least from an acting standpoint, I have had a lot of fun just playing maniacal recently in the last couple things that we've done.
Mm-hmm.
Be interesting to see what we could come up with in those terms. It seems like people like it too, so I don't. There's a lot to explore. We're in a good place.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I, I mean, right now it's tough to film, but I think we're in a spot where we have a lot of juices flowing. We got a lot of good ideas. Let's just see what we can make happen. What about you? What are your,
Yeah, my
what's your
big
5 year
thing
plan?
is like I have a lot of ideas, and kind of each one of them has like pros and cons, and they all have like equal weight. It's like 33% of me wants to do this one, 33% of me wants to do this one, and 33% wants me to do that one. And it's, I guess, trying to get someone to push me towards one of those three projects and just committing. Because, like I said, each of them has their pros and cons. Like, there's some reasons why I'm leaning away and leaning toward other ones, and every project has those. So it's there. I'm probably a month away from fully committing to our next project, but I would say that I'm hoping to shoot something in the spring if it's if it's possible, if it's safe to do so. As far as like 5 year plan, um, I really want to. I would say it's not going to happen this year, and I don't know 100% about next year, but the next year, so 22, 2023, I do want to start making the push back into features because I'm now at a point in my career where I'm confident enough in my own abilities and my own directing abilities, and also the team that we have built around us, and I'm confident in their abilities that we could pull off a feature at a very very low no budget cost. Like, so 2023 I think is probably going to be the year where we transition away from doing shorts and back into features, and hopefully that happens.
I'm down. And I think that's a good, I think that is, in terms of, I guess, when somebody said what made us do shorts instead, it was growth. And I think we are getting to the point where we're ready to hop back the other way now. And
Mm-hmm.
that's, like you said, our team. If there has been one thing that has been the biggest blessing from my eyes as far as doing these shorts goes, it was building the team that we have.
Mm-hmm.
Just Mike, Brian, Corey, Brittany, Rob, everybody we were. And if I didn't say your name, it's not that I don't personally love you,
It's
but
just
it's
getting
we
big.
built such. And I cannot explain to you guys what it was like. We were making our first feature, and literally we had Wes behind the camera. If we were lucky, we had a guy halfway across the room operating a boom mic. If we were even, if we didn't have him, we just propped up the boom mic somewhere, and then it was just me doing action in front of the screen. Like, it was two people. To now where we have 10 or 12 people that are just production, just back, just crew.
Well, I was gonna say,
Oh, Hugh,
stocked.
he was amazing, but we just, yeah,
Stocked. I think we
stock
had
we
20
had
people, um, and five were cast. Four, I don't remember. So that leaves
4.
like 16, 15 or 16
Yeah.
crew. Um, but so I don't think this worked because like I had a thumbnail set and then people told me like I was on the other live stream. It's like, well, I didn't know that there were two live streams. So, but I created a thumbnail that was a picture of our second project binge, and you can literally see one, two, three, four people in the picture, and then my wife was taking the photo, so five people. That's it. That's all we had on set. Three of them were actors, one was a sound guy, and then one was me. It was us five, and the majority of those first two projects were, you know, 5 people, 5 or less people
Or
doing
less. Yeah, I was gonna
everything.
say five. Five
Because
was
there was
high.
times where, you know, it was me and you, 3 in the morning,
Mhm.
doing a scene by ourselves. But then you see us now, and you know we have close to like 20 people, and it's really kind of crazy to look back on like where we started and you know where we are now. And I know that that's going to keep growing and growing and growing because
Yeah.
I'm not going to give up because I'm like I said before, I don't have those feelings of that this isn't something I want to do. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to do with as a career. It's what I want to do with my life. Um, so I think that's kind of like a full circle type moment.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and that's it. Just touch on it real quick too. It's so weird now. Like when we were shooting stock, it's like, all right, cut. We're moving on to the next scene. Everybody grab. Like we reset for the next scene. I look around like, okay, what do I need to move? And I'm like, oh wait, nothing. I'm just an actor right now. This is weird. This
Mm.
is new for me.
And
Or like when I wasn't on camera, I got to just go relax. I'm like, I don't. This is strange.
and each crew member has their own specific job to worry about. Whereas,
Mhm.
like, whenever, you know, even doing shorts just a couple years back, like, we were so strapped crew wise where everybody was doing like 5 or 6 jobs per person. But now, like, you know, with Stalked, that was the first time I had ever worked with a director of photography. I just directed the movie. And so that allowed me to completely focus on, you know, communicating my vision to the actors, you guys, and also the crew and the assistant director, Matt Hacker. So it really is crazy to see, you know, how far we've came since that first night we set foot on set, where we were literally running around like chickens with our heads cut off because we were clueless, and
I said
now
we
we
had less
have
brains still. Yeah,
some clue,
a little bit more than we did,
a
but
little bit
infinitely
more
more.
clue.
Yeah.
But I think that's gonna do it, everybody. It's close to 2 hours, at least in terms of us trying to diagnose everything. But let us know if you guys enjoyed this little discussion. We are going to do at least a couple more of these. We have a couple guests we want to have on, and Andrew and I will collectively be the hosts for the Thinking Art podcast. And uh, we'll just kind of do the same thing where we have like a little interview with our guest, and you guys can ask questions in the chat, and we'll kind of go back and forth between them all. But yeah, let us know in the comments if you like this format. I know that we can improve on some things, and uh, especially getting the technical stuff worked out. I thought I had it
I
worked out, and
actually,
then
while we were talking, I had an offer for someone to produce the next live one for us. So
oh
we
really?
can talk about that too. But yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
please,
absolutely.
because I suck at
Yes.
this. But I do
Yeah, it's
like
not one
having.
of our
I
fortes.
went out. This is the first time I'm ever using a capture card. So my computer is here. You can see it in frame. But I'm using my Pocket 4K to shoot on. So I was actually really excited about that. Mike says later, yes, this was cool. Thank you, Mike. I'm glad you
Yeah.
appreciated it. Hopefully, a lot of other people appreciate it too. Just because this is something like I've always wanted to do. I love talking filmmaking with other filmmakers, and right now, like we can't hang out on set, so why not do it on a live stream?
I just love talking, so it doesn't matter. Talk shit.
Uh,
Okay.
Adam said, "Make the windows bigger, otherwise this looks great." Thanks, Adam. I actually had to. I had them bigger, but then for some reason I couldn't. OBS was not figuring out. It wasn't recognizing the Zoom or Skype windows, and I had to delete everything I did and then redo it all within like 2 or 3 minutes before the stream. And yeah, I was kind of disappointed because I spent an hour putting up a nicer screen than what you're seeing here. But comes with the territory. Hopefully, we can talk to somebody about producing this show and getting it better looking. But we'll have a little bit more time to play with some things next week because we'll have a whole week to prepare. Whereas, like, you and I literally said this morning, we still gonna do it?
Yeah. It was just like, are we doing this? Yeah, we'll do it. We'll throw it together. Why not?
Yeah.
Can always fill 2 hours talking nonsense.
And it's fun too.
Oh, it's a blast. It's like you and I would do this anyway. The fact that
Exactly.
like some other people got some sort of entertainment out of it is a win for us.
Yep. And who knows? Like the main thing I want like people to take away from this channel, our videos, these podcasts and live streams, or anything is like. Yes, we recognize that our first feature films were terrible, and we don't want people to see them. But and we most importantly, we don't want that to discourage you. We want that to motivate you. We want you to recognize that that is just how it's going to happen, and you need to actively work on getting better with every project. We don't want you to look at that first project, know it's terrible, and think you're terrible because you're not. You just need to get past that hurdle where you're a little too ambitious for your skill set, and sooner or later you're going to close that gap, and you're finally going to be there, and you're going to be good.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I think that's a good ending note.
That's a great ending. Absolutely, guys. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for watching. As always, if you like what we do, I'm sure you guys already like, subscribed, and shared, but do that. Tell your friends. Hit our Patreon. We need the money.
Check out our Patreon. It'll be linked in the comments. It's probably not there now, but Adam actually, I don't know if this is a quote or he just came up with it right now, but he said, "Practice makes permanent." I like that a lot. But yes, if you like the video, let us know in the comments. Like it, share it, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. And we'll see you probably next week. And if not next week, then the following Wednesday with Brittany Snayman, the writer and director of Goodbye. So thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Speaking of, goodbye.
Speaking of, goodbye.
Such a dipshit. Bye, guys.